My dad began at Joker's Barbershop in 1938. And he was very proud of talking about Joker's Barbershop. When he began, there were 6 barbers. He was one of 6. And yes, he was one of the one of the only ones to stay there as long as he did, which was 54 years. Um, Dad actually saw many generations come through Joker's Barbershop. And he sometimes would be the family counselor. Sometimes he may be the peacemaker if that was necessary. Um, he was he was probably the kind of personality that you didn't have to uh, try to defend yourself, because he was not one who created or started negative environment, which was very, very positive. But he may be one to help straighten it out or clean it up at the end. At I can remember Dad talking about sometimes there may be 1 or 2 men in the shop on a given evening. Usually it was a weekend. That there may be some negative, some problems, even borderline fight. And Dad was one who didn't have a lot of words to say, but usually what he said he meant, and he could back it up. And if he said, "I want you to leave, I need you to get out, we don't need that around here," then usually that was the response. They would leave, or there wouldn't be anything beyond that. His size probably played a big part in that. My dad was 6'4", and at one time he was around 265 pounds. So probably he didn't need to say a lot of things. He could just say a few things, and that was all. And that seemingly was enough. So he was a peacekeeper. He was also someone who loved, and he definitely enjoyed humor. And one of his big things, and he was known for, was actually having a nickname for anyone who walked into the shop. And some people may take that offense to that, maybe today in time, but whether they did or not at that time, you still got a nickname. And you were given that nickname, and you were called that nickname if you entered that shop. So if you didn't want to hear it, I guess the best thing is not to come in. And he did that for all the years. And anyone at home where we lived, and I lived in the county, and my dad was a hard worker. He worked hard before he left home, because we raised everything we ate. So he worked the gardens. He worked before he left home, and then when he got off, it was usually too late. So my brothers and I would work the gardens during the daytime, or when we came home from school in the spring and in the summertime. But when he was in the shop, he was there from Monday through Saturday. And in those days, in the early days, from say 1938 and beyond that, the shop used to have full days until Wednesday was a half day, and Saturday was the longest day of the week as far as the work hours. And so we would see him in the morning, and we may not see him until 10 or later on Saturday night. But that was our treat time, because remember I said I was raised in the county. And at one time, we didn't have indoor plumbing for years when I was growing up. And so what he would bring home on Saturday night would be, they were the small Coca-Colas there. You may have seen them, and they are little antiques now, but they were the small Coca-Colas. And then he would bring one of these barrels that had cheese. And those were our treats. He would bring those home on a Saturday night, and we thought we had died and gone to heaven, especially with the Coca-Colas. He would bring 24 in a crate. And so we would be waiting up for him on Saturday. But he was fairly soft-spoken, even at home. The disciplinarian, believe it or not, in my home was my mom, who was 5'5". And so I chuckle when I hear parents say, I can't wait for your father to come home, and then we will talk about it. Well, by the time my dad got home, my mom had already done what she was going to do.